Hello everyone, hopefully we're going live, everything's working. How is everyone today? So just while we're checking that everything's working, let's just do a little bit of introductions. So if you're joining me for the first time, you are watching Phil and this is the IELTS Grind. And what we're going to do today is to talk about school, and particularly we're going to be talking about vocabulary. What I'd like to have is a lot of interaction with you guys, and we're going to talk about how you can use this vocabulary in speaking and writing. And of course, learning vocabulary will also help you with your reading and your listening in the IELTS exam. So we're also going to talk about how you guys can improve your vocabulary. So as my colleague Michael says, quite often the IELTS is kind of a big vocabulary test, and I kind of agree with him. So in the chat, if you're watching live, just say hi, let me know if you can hear me okay. And we will get started very soon if the audio is working and everything like that. I'm just gonna check if I can hear myself. So there are a few things we're going to do today. I'll be working off this Google document here. Now, if you'd like to come and find that, if you just come to the video you're watching and come down to the description here, if you click on here, it says the Google Doc, you should be able to see what we're all looking at today. Right, so we've got a few parts to today's lesson. So part one, we're going to be thinking about just general vocabulary. We're going to get some ideas down on paper together. And this is really important. This is something you can do with friends and other people that you're studying with. Just sharing ideas, learning from others. It's one of the best ways to pick up vocabulary. Then what we're going to do is try to apply what we've shared with each other in part one to part two of today's live stream, which is going to be talking about speaking. We're going to think of some questions. I'll ask you guys to think of some answers, and I'll give you feedback along the way. And then part three, we're going to do the same thing, but in the context of writing. So I've already prepared a task one that we can look at together, and we'll also be talking about possible task two questions in the IELTS. So before we begin all that, let's see, how is the volume? Can you hear me, guys? And if you can you hear me well? And unfortunately today, you guys, you can see me. So we've finally turned the cameras on. Okay, so I will try and remember I'm on camera. I won't do anything gross like picking my nose or something. Right, so let's get cracking. Right, so one of the best ways to practice vocabulary is to kind of anticipate topics that might come up in the IELTS. Now, when it comes to schools and study, you've got a 50-50 chance that you're going to see this topic on any IELTS exam that you take. And the reason for this is, in part one of your speaking, you've got a 50-50 chance in the first set of questions in part one of speaking that they're going to be about school. So do you work or study? So that's a possibility. Or you'll get questions about hometown, where you live. So there's a 50-50 chance this will come up. So it's nice to be prepared, but you can do this with absolutely any topic. And a really great way is to come up with a mind map. Now we've done this before on this channel. Michael and I, we drew some pretty interesting mind maps, and we showed you exactly how to do that. I will dig out that video for you guys later. But what I want to do is focus today on 4 main areas to do with schools. So we're going to think about types of schools and qualifications. Now, you'll find that the qualifications you have in your home country will be very different to the ones that we have in the UK, USA, Australia, etc. But what would be useful is if you could learn the terms for the ones in UK, etc. Then you can make a reference between what your examination may be called and the equivalent in a certain country. So a good example would be something like A-levels in the UK, which you take when you're about 18, and in France they have something called the baccalaureate, which is something similar, about the same age, I believe. So we're going to talk about that. I want to think about important events in your school life. What happens to students? That's another topic we're going to brainstorm together. We're just going to think of nouns, just words connected to schools. What can we come up with? And later we're going to think of idioms, because if we can effectively use idiomatic language in the speaking test, then this in part will help you improve your score for vocabulary. There are other things, of course, but this does help. So think about this at the moment. We're going to cover this in just a little while, but before we do that, I want to talk about the school structure. So as you may be able to tell from my accent, and also if you look at our channel from my flag, I am from the UK. I'm British, and my colleague here, Michael, is American. And that means that our school systems are quite different. We have different terms for the schools that we go to, and it's important to know the difference. Now, it doesn't matter if you've learned American English and you refer to the school system in the American dialect, let's say. That's absolutely fine, but you should know the way that we refer to it in the UK, because that's going to help you with your listening and reading if those words come up. Okay, so generally Michael and I, we say stick to one of the languages, so British English or American English, doesn't matter which, but do know about the other side of the coin, as it were. So let me talk you through this, and what I want you guys to do is, as I'm giving you the UK system, can you tell me in the chat about the American system? What would be the equivalent school or level of education in the USA, if you know? So in the UK, we start off with something called creche or nursery. So creche comes from the French word, and creche and nursery are used sort of interchangeably. They mean the same thing, basically. So this is when you're still quite a young child. So you would be sort of younger than 4 years old normally. It's not mandatory. You don't have to go here, but many children do go there because parents work, and it's a good way to interact. So I'm actually expecting a baby, not me personally, but my wife is, and we've already spoken about this. Will we send our baby to creche when she's old enough so she can socialise? So the next sort of system and a level, let's say, we call it primary school. Okay, and this is from about the age of 5 now. I have to admit, I haven't been to school in a long time, so don't quote me on the ages. But so pretty much you go when you're about 5 or 6 in the UK, about that age. And the first class is reception. So the very first year that you're in a school with a proper teacher, it's a proper school, it's reception. And then we go from reception to year 1, and all the way to year 6. And when you're in year 6, you're about 10 to 11 years old. So in the American system, let's see in the chat what we've got. So we've got, so Maria Van Tran is saying kindergarten. Now, I can never remember if Americans say kindergarten or kindergarten. So kindergarten is the German word, obviously. So I can never remember if they spell it in the German way or they say garden. So I might double check that. But yeah, so kindergarten or kindergarten would be reception, basically. You're in a proper school. And yeah, so I know this from a film called Kindergarten Cop, which is a very old film with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. So you're definitely in an elementary school. So Maria said elementary school as well. Yeah. So then where we say in the UK, we say a year. So let me put this down. So we say elementary school. Oh, can't spell. I've got my microphone in front of my keyboard, so I can't always see what I'm writing. And then kindergarten. Should we say kindergarten? Yeah, garten. There you go. Spell check saved me. This is not something we say in the UK. So kindergarten with a T apparently. And then the equivalent of year, as you said, and many of you, is grade 1, I suppose, until whatever it is. So then the way that they split this up is in the UK we say primary school until you're about 10 years old. When you're 11, you go to secondary school and you're in year 7, and you stay in the same school, most people, until year 11. And at this age you're about 16 and you take your first big exam. Then following that, there's what's called sixth form, which is year 12 and 13. And you can either do that in a secondary school or in what we call a college. And there's a big difference between college in the UK compared to college in the USA. Now, in the USA, they have lots of different schools. So I can see we've got Naz has written down things like elementary school, senior, high school, and things like this. Middle school, Asma has said, yeah. So there's different years here. So as far as I understand, we have an elementary school. Quite often people go to a middle school, and then they go to a senior high school in the USA. So we've got all of these different ones. So middle school to high school. Okay, so as I said, it doesn't really matter if you just refer to your own education using the American system. It doesn't matter at all, but just be aware of the differences. Okay, so in the UK we only really have 2 schools, primary school, secondary school, before we go to university, where you do an undergraduate and postgraduate degree. And of course, this is what many Americans refer to as college. Okay, so I just wanted to make it clear that there's a difference between the school system in the UK and the USA, and it's just useful to know the different vocabulary. Okay, so in your country, is your system more similar to the UK system or more similar to the American system? Just in the chat, just write UK or USA, or if it's not similar at all, say neither. So let me see what you've got. And I'm going to have a little drink of my green tea. Okay, so now as your system's a bit more like the USA, okay? Asma is a little bit more like the UK, okay, right. And then in Vietnam, Maria says it's a bit more like the USA, okay. So the system certainly has changed a bit in the UK, but when I went to school, this was the system I went to. Just 2 main schools and then on to university. And the interesting thing about college here is a college, you can do your final 2 years of secondary school if you want in the UK, but you can also learn a trade. You can learn to be a mechanic, you can learn to be an electrician and things like this in a college. So it's quite different to college in the US. Okay, so let's then start talking about we said we were going to talk about 4 different areas. So we're going to start by talking about types of schools and qualifications. So what I'd like you guys to do is in the chat, can you think of different types of schools? Now we've mentioned sort of high schools and things like that, but is there any other vocabulary connected to schools, any special types of schools that we haven't spoken about, or any qualifications? To give you a bit of time, just let me know in the chat if you've got any suggestions about that. Okay, so let's put a few that you've already put. So master degree, we've got night school, what else have we got? Private school. Let's just put all these up there. Put them up and then we can have a little chat about these in just a moment. Oh, probably just quicker if I write them over actually. Okay, I might just type these. I'm struggling with my copy and pasting. Okay, so master degree. So normally we refer to it as master's degree. So we've mentioned undergraduate already. So we can have master's degree and under and postgraduate degree. Postgraduate. Now, in the UK, this particularly we talk about the degree, particularly in the UK. And in the USA, they often talk about the major and minor subjects. So you major in something, you minor in something. If you're planning to go to the UK, it's a very different system. So when I went to university, I had already picked my major. And within that, you may have some wild modules. A module, which is a sort of a component of your degree, and you had a bit of freedom in your first year, but quite often in the UK you're just stuck doing one thing, and it's very different to the American system. So we got night schools, to go to a night school. My father did this in sort of later life. He used to work for British Rail, which was a railway company, before the system became privatized, and he went to night school to become an accountant. So certainly that. Then we've got private school. So in the USA, I believe they refer to this as private school. Does anyone know there are 2 kind of schools in the UK? One that means it's private, you have to pay, and one that means it's not. So can anyone tell me, in British English, how would we talk about private school? So for example, Eton or Harrow or any of these kind of schools. and it has a very confusing name. That can a lot of people get confused with this. If you know, let me know in the chat. We'll come back to boarding school. Yeah, so a school where you stay there, you sleep over, and there we've got language schools in the chat. We've got tertiary education. So tertiary education, which one is it talking about? So it's kind of easy to guess with the British system: primary, secondary, and then tertiary. So tertiary education, and I'll put this up. Oh, I can't see my keyboard anymore. Tertiary education. Tertiary is really the third thing in a series. For example, with if we're talking about industry, primary industry, secondary industry, tertiary. Primary industry would be cutting down a tree. Secondary industry would be you're then making a chair, and then afterwards you're selling the chair. Okay, and yeah, unfortunately I'm going to try and get my ugly face back. There we go, it's back. I'm sure you're happy that my face disappeared. Anyway, so what else have we got? Rupinder's talking about diplomas, graduation, post-graduation, yeah. A special school for disabled kids or children. Asma, just watch out for your spelling of kid. You got Captain Kidd, who was a very, very famous pirate in about the 1700s. But kid, as in a child, is just one D. Okay, we've got, public schools and government schools. Okay, so, coming back to this idea of private schools, we've got a public school versus a state school. And this is really the UK. So a public school is one that you have to pay for. You have to pay money to go to that school, and quite often there's an exam or something you have to pass. But a state school is one that is free in the UK, and anybody can go, and you normally go to a school that's within a certain area where you live. Yeah. Okay. No problem, Asma. Yeah, I do lots of typos too. Okay, great. So, what about? So we've spoken about schools. What about any qualifications? Do you know any of the qualifications or any terms for qualifications from the UK or the USA or Australia or Ireland or any other English-speaking place? Okay, yeah. PhD, yeah. A PhD, yeah, which is a postgraduate degree. I've got a few friends who've done PhDs. They're very, very brave. It's a lot of study, isn't it, to be in school. An MD, okay, yeah, master's degree, MBA, masters in business, right? Yeah, great. Any general terms? For example, if we talk about the UK, there are two big exams. One exam is when you're about 16 years old, and this is called the GCSE, which is stands for a General Certificate in Secondary Education. And then when you're about 18 years old, give or take, put that up a little bit, years old, you take what are called A-levels, which are advanced levels. Yeah. Ordinary levels. I think Dragon Ball, we're getting into the realm of Harry Potter there, taking your owls, ordinary wizard levels. But there's a general term in the USA. I believe they have a high school diploma. So you take a high school diploma. Then, to be honest, after that, I'm not sure. I'm relying on my knowledge of American television. I know that you get a high school diploma if you graduate from high school, but that's about it. But there is another thing that Americans have that the British students don't, which is a grade point average. So with all of their sort of exams or their projects and coursework and things like that, they know exactly at any point what their grade is during their high school career. In the UK, we have no idea. Until we take an exam, we don't know if we're failing or what. So that's another term that you could use. And Maria said a certificate, so we could also say high school diploma, high school certificate. Yeah, great. So we've got some interesting phrases there. What about if we move on to our next point, which was important events? And the reason why I've included this is because it's possible that you would get a question about a memory from school or something like that. So what could we talk about? What are some important events? What would be significant to someone in school? Okay, so Maria's mentioned a gap year or a year off, and we would say to take. So yeah, certainly this would be something that would happen after you've studied. It's very popular to go backpacking around the world, for example. Yeah. Is there anything that would happen during school? Okay, so Linda asked how to describe that students don't choose academic school. They want to learn some professional skills. Yeah, so you would call that a vocation or vocational. So a vocation means a career or something like that. Now in the UK system, it would mean that a student would normally go to a college at the age of 16, and they would probably learn a trade. And a trade is something like being a plumber, electrician. I can't spell today. Electrician's got a C in there. So to learn a trade. So if I were going to describe that, I would say personally, I didn't take an academic route. I went for a vocational route in my education. Or you would say I didn't stay in high school. I went to a special institute or college to learn a trade. Yeah. And we could talk. Maria said, to get or to enroll in an apprenticeship. Oh, I can't spell. Oh, I can't spell today. Can't even see my. I can't spell it. Cannot spell today. Apprenticeship. Oh, and it's really hard. I can't see my microphone. I keep looking behind my microphone. Okay, an apprenticeship. We could also say a scholarship, to get a scholarship. So this, particularly in the USA, where college is so expensive, getting a scholarship, an all-paid scholarship, can be quite useful. Yeah. So how to describe your first, Naz asks, how to describe your first day at school? It would be, this is a good opportunity actually, because You could think about how to use grammar in an interesting way. You could talk about series of events and how different events affected each other. But yeah, I mean, you say it's been a really long time. You're at uni, you only remember bits and pieces of those days. So here I might say, if the question was something like, who did you meet on your first day of school? I could say either, to be honest with you, my memories of that first day are a little bit hazy. I don't quite recall what happened, but I think I probably met my other classmates and my tutor, my teacher. So you could go down that route and just say, I don't really remember, but probably. Or you could make it up and you could say, yes, I remember very clearly. I have a very vivid memory of my first day. We had just arrived in class when I met my best friend, and we sat next to each other and we had a great time. That's actually true for me. But in that case, I'm using an opportunity. We had just arrived in class. We had just had a introduction from our teacher, and then I'm talking about another event here. A welcome party. Yeah, so Maria says, recall, remember. Yes, it means the same thing. Linda says, a welcome party. You might have orientation or an orientation week. I remember when I went to university, the first years, as we call it in the UK, I think to call it sophomores in the USA, I'm not really sure. We have what's called orientation, to orientate yourself, where you're shown what to do, where to go. So that would be orientation, would be the best word for that. Yeah, so yeah, Naz, that's hazy memories of something, not very clear. You can remember bits and pieces of something, yeah. Have a vivid memory, very clear memory of something, yeah. Good. So, okay, great. So we've got some really good stuff. Hopefully we can come up with some of these ideas. Yeah, so the event should be here, orientation. Okay, so any other important events that might happen in your high school career, your primary school, anything like this? So if we talk about America, they have some popular ones, a prom or a school dance. You might have, they call them a formal, and this is a dance. So often you can have like a summer formal, perhaps a spring formal. It means a dance, something like this. Yeah, so we've got a graduation ceremony, exactly. Yeah. We don't have any of this in the UK. Like, I think actually when I went to school, I remember one of my friends, she was adamant that she wanted to have a prom. So she arranged it for everyone. And we all got dressed up, and it had never happened in our school before. She arranged it all. We had a dance and everything, and it's quite funny. Although they served prawns, so shrimp, and everyone got sick, but I didn't eat them, so I was okay. Okay, right. What else have we got? So some annual functions. This is a good term. Yeah, annual functions. Annual functions could be any of these things. So, for example, you might have a teacher parent evening. So in the UK, this is what we call it. This is when the parents come in to talk to your teacher about your performance. You can have an open day. This would be when sort of the year 6 or grade 6 students might come to actually look at the school. I remember doing this growing up, doing science experiments as people walked around looking at the school. What else? We've got sports day. Yeah, exactly. Remember those. What else have we got? Keep losing my camera. I don't know if that's your collective will not to see me, but PTM. I think it might be PTA. So parent teacher. I'm not sure what the A is actually. Let me double check. What is the A for in PTA? This is more of an American term, I think. Association, of course it is. Parent Teacher Association. So this is a little bit different, I think, to what I'm talking about. So yeah, the Parent Teacher Association, PTA. I think this is sort of it's less about one-to-one with your school teacher, but it's more about the curriculum and what's happening in the school. But that's a good one. Excellent. Yeah. A sports meet, sports day. So this is, again, I think sports day is more UK English. Sports meet, I believe, would be more USA. So you see where I'm saying it doesn't matter if you're using American or British English, because examiners they're bilingual, especially if they're British, because they understand other dialects a lot. But it's down to you. If you don't know the difference between a sports day and a sports meet, that could be an issue. It doesn't matter if you prefer to use one or the other. Good, excellent. Okay, so just talking about the events, what you can do is then you can take a subject like this, a graduation ceremony, okay? And we could take that, if we go back to our idea of our mind map here, you can make a branch off of this, and you can actually develop that topic yourself. So, for example, a graduation ceremony, we have to wear a gown. So often you have to wear these special, you're wearing these kind of special clothes and a special hat. You can talk about that, and you can talk about going to a presentation. You can talk about a speech. Often, if you go to one of these special universities, they have a very special speaker who gives a speech. So you can develop vocabulary within these events and topics as well. Okay, let's move on and just think of any kind of nouns, any words associated with school. What can you think of? So we're talking about maybe equipment. What kind of things do we need? Obviously, you might need something to write with. So we have, a pen, etc. But all of this goes into a pencil case. You might have a school bag, things like this. Is there any other kind of equipment that you can think of? And then, as I was saying, we've got facilities as well. That's great. So you mentioned a playground. Yeah, definitely. Good. So Naz has nailed it there. So with the pen, this would be funny, a rubber. I'm laughing about this, but stationary, yeah. Oh, what's happening here? Oh, I can't seem to get, there we go. Okay, stationary, can't spell. Yeah, I'm laughing about this because there's a lot of vocabulary in the UK and the USA that's different, but we use it in funny ways. So in the UK, we use this term of rubber because we rub out a pencil. But in the USA, does anyone know the equivalent in the USA? So if you make a mistake with you're writing in pencil, yeah, Asma's got it there, yeah, an eraser. But don't say a rubber to an American. If you ask an American for a rubber, it means something quite different. I don't know if I'm going to tell you live on YouTube. It's not really that rude, but it's just funny. So there's differences in vocabulary. If you know what a rubber is, you can write it in the chat if you want. I won't mention what it is. Maybe if Michael's watching, he's laughing. Okay, but facilities. We've got a playground. We've got a library. Yes, the canteen. So we've got a few things here. Yeah. So let's try them to make a few sentences. Yeah. So if we talk about facilities, let's think about a few sentences we could talk about. So if the question was, good, we got music room, good, excellent. So if we were being asked about the facilities, about the school that we went to, what might we say? So if I'm talking about what was your favorite place at school? Don't worry, Naz. You got access to this document. You can access this later on, and it's just the more you sort of work with English, you just start to learn these words, and it won't seem as such a task, So what was your favourite place to go at school? Now, if I wanted to talk about the facilities, what might I say? So I might say by far the best place to hang out in my school was the common room. So common room is another place. So this is normally in the UK, it's when you're in the sixth form and you have this special place that the younger kids can't go to. But yeah, by far the best place to hang out in my school was the common room. How could we use this phrase in any other way? By far the best, let's say the best area to hang out in my school was the, let's say, canteen. So we can use a similar structure and just change a few words here and there. We could also say by far the worst. Oh, get rid of the best, worst place to hang out in my school was the, can anyone guess what I'm going to write? Library. So we can change up these sentences and try and use them. The point here is that if you really want to improve your knowledge of vocabulary, it's great to make lists, but you've got to actively use things. Yeah, you've got to try and use the sentences with new vocabulary. So when you're coming up with these ideas, these mind maps, if you write out example sentences alongside new vocabulary, it will really help you use them. Okay. Now, what I want to do is to set you guys a bit of a challenge. Okay. Now I've come up with lots of idioms already. And if you want to see a few more of them, you can come and click on this link in the document, And if you want to find that document, just come to the description of the video and click on the link here under Google Doc. So I've chosen about 28 different idioms that you could use. So an idiom is a phrase that has a particular meaning, but if you don't learn the phrase, it wouldn't be that easy to figure out what it is. So we've got 28 to choose from, okay? But some of them are kind of synonyms of each other, let's say. So to draw a blank. So to draw a blank is when you can't think of the answer. So the teacher asks you a question and you drew a blank. You couldn't think of the answer. To put one's thinking cap on. This is an expression that means now we have to think of ideas. We have to think of something. To put your thinking cap on means let's think of ideas. To figure something out, this is when you have found out the answer to something, or you've understood a problem. For example, in a maths class. To rack one's brain, meaning to try and think about something, to try and remember something, perhaps that you've forgotten. Yeah. To daydream is just in class. It might be happening now. It's warm, the teacher's talking, and you're slowly just thinking about something else and not paying attention. To be lost in thought is very similar to daydreaming. It's when your mind's thinking about something else and you're not really paying attention to what's around you. To be a teacher's pet. So this is a student who really kind of they like the teacher a lot. They always listen to the teacher. They always want to have the teacher's favour, and it often makes them not very likable for other students, let's say. To be a bookworm, someone who likes to read a lot, which is not a bad way to learn vocabulary. If you read every day, 20 minutes for fun, anything you like in English, it's going to help you. To be the class clown, this is a student that was always trying to make jokes, perhaps being a bit disruptive. Teachers wouldn't like this person a lot. They have to discipline them. So talking about qualifications, you can pass with flying colours. To pass with flying colours means that you do very well in the exam. And it's similar to these phrases here. To breeze or sail through an exam, we can say, or through a situation. To ace a test. These all mean to do very well in an exam. Yeah. To be a piece of cake. If you describe something as a piece of cake, it means it's easy. Yeah. So the exam was a piece of cake, meaning very, very easy. And we've got some similar ones. 14, to be a cakewalk. To be a breeze, as in to breeze through. And to be a cinch, that's cinch. To be a walk in the park. So all of these actually mean exactly the same thing. So how is that useful to you? Well, if, for example, the situation came up and you had to talk about something being extremely easy several different times in your speaking exam, you have different choices. If you were to use one idiom, it would be very good. If you were to use more than one idiom, that would be great. If you could use synonyms of idioms, that would be fantastic. So that's why I've included them. So there's lots of different ways to say the same thing using idioms. If we move to 18, to play hooky, it's the same as to cut class, to skip class, to ditch class. It means that you don't go to class. You go and play with your friends, or you go to relax or something yourself. So to play truant as well is another term. So these ones mean not to go to class when you should go to class. Talking about studying, to hit the books is an expression which means to study. It's time to hit the books. Okay. To pull an all-nighter, this often is what students do before an assignment is due. They work all night. They don't go to sleep. To pull an all-nighter. So these are particularly ones for studying. To catch on means to start understanding something. Have you caught on? Meaning, have you understood what we're talking about now? It's taking you some time to understand, but now you do, you've caught on. To learn by heart, to learn something by heart. To memorize. To cram, which is an idiomatic expression, and as Maria said, to cram for a test, which is to try and force all the information into your head at the last minute. Yeah. And these are kind of similar phrases, 24, 25, and 26. To cram for a test. To burn the midnight oil. To burn the candle at both ends. To burn the midnight oil is similar to pull an all-nighter. To cram for the test. It's to try and do something all night just before a deadline. To burn the midnight oil. It also means that someone has been working late into the night, just in general. And to burn the candle at both ends is you're working very late and you're waking up very early, and it's affecting your life, really. And just the last two, to put oneself through school, to put yourself through school, means to work at the same time as you're studying. And to kiss or suck up to someone, this is exactly what the teacher's pet does. So there's lots of idioms that I've picked out. What I would like you guys to do is perhaps pick one or two and to try and put them into a sentence. Can you give me an example of how we would use these in context? So that's the challenge. You've got 28 examples, and I'll try and fit them all on screen. Just about. And can anyone give me any example sentences? I like that. Naz says, note for Indian students, if we use more than 3 idioms in one sentence, it could be worse. Yeah, the thing about idioms is you've got to use them naturally. Okay, it's not just about ticking a box. You've got to use them naturally, but within a speech, within a series of questions, if you can use synonyms, that'd be great. Okay, so we've got an example from Naz already. So she says, these days I am study night after night to pass the exam with flying colours. Okay, so it's really, you've used the idiom to pass an exam with flying colours, exactly the right context. We might just want to change a little bit here. These days. Now, there's two options here. We've got 2 grammar opportunities, okay? Either we can talk about something that is in progress, something happening now, and it hasn't stopped. That would be one option. The other one is to talk about really life experience or recently finished or recently completed things. I'm trying not to give away the answers here, but there are 2 opportunities, okay? So either I would say, so these days, I don't know why it's up. There we go. These days I am studying. Okay. Studying night after night. And just to keep it all nice, and it's night after night, we don't want to capitalize them. These days I am studying night after night to pass the exam with flying colours. So in this case, what Naz is saying is the action is in progress. I did it last night, I'm going to do it again tonight, and tomorrow night I'm going to do the same thing. We could say that. Another opportunity would be, these days we could say I have been studying night after night to pass the exam with flying colours. So here we're talking about a similar idea. The action's in progress. These are both continuous tenses, but this one is talking about repetition. It's been happening frequently in recent days. Okay, so there are two grammar opportunities there. So we just remember, if you're using the verb to be and you have another verb, it's probably going to be ing. Good, excellent then, lads. You used that in a perfect way. And let's have a look at, we got an example from Dragon Ball. I might have gotten a higher grade if I didn't cram for the exam at the last minute. Yes, I might just change that. Just one word. Just one word. I think it would be slightly improved if we just changed this one word. I might have gotten a higher grade if I didn't cram for the exam at the last minute. So Dragon Ball, do you want to have another crack at that? So didn't, we're almost there. I might change it for one other word. See, tell me in the chat which word you might change it to, because you're very, very close to a very good answer. And you've used cram in exactly the right way. Let's see, Linda. So Linda has said, okay, so Abisi has said hadn't. Yeah, this is what I would say here. I might have gotten a higher grade if I hadn't crammed for the exam at the last minute. Yeah, so here I think it's a better conditional. Okay, I think what you said before, a lot of natives would say it that way. It's on the lines of a mixed conditional, but here this is better because it's third conditional. Yeah, very good sentence though. Okay, so we had Linda said, I believe that is a walk in the park to you for taking the exam. So I think what we need to do is talk about when this is happening, Linda. When is the exam? Is it past, present, or future? Did it already happen? Is it, we're talking about generally, this person finds it easy? Or are we talking about a future event? Let's imagine we're talking about a particular exam in the future. I might change it to this. I believe that it will be. So the is here becomes that it will be a walk in the park, and then I would say you've got all the right words, but we just want to change them round. So we take the to and we put it here, and we take the for, we put it here. So a walk in the park for you to take the exam. Yeah, so you had all the right words, we just needed to change a some of the tenses, and here, I believe that it will be. So we're just missing the extra subject. So that's a future thing. If you wanted to talk about it as a fact, it's always true, you would say, I believe that it is, and then I get rid of this. Oh, where's it gone? There we go. I believe that it is a walk in the park for you to take. And then here we would say exams. So this is a future event. This is a fact. And you can see how it's slightly different. Ever so slightly different, and it gives us a different message. Because that's all grammar is. It's all about messages. And we've got Naz, who says, although the exam was not a piece of cake for me, I managed to scrape through it. Perfect. Very nice. Very nice sentence indeed. Okay, so some good uses of idioms, and you've got those there. You can always access this document, and you can see how you can use that in the next part. Okay, let's see. We've got one more from Dragon Ball. I think this is also a good one. Let's see. Maybe I'll put this there. I thought I was going to fail the IELTS, but it turned out to be a piece, just watch out for the spelling there, of cake. Yes. Good use of the idiom. Oh, we got another one come through, I think. Yeah. Oh, what's up in there? Copy this. So, if teachers find a way, play way method for learning, it would help the students to pass the exam with flying colours. Okay, so if teachers, I think we're missing an R there. If teachers find a way, so because we've got would here in this, so this makes it a second conditional. Yeah. So yeah, if teachers. Now, I think I would say if teachers found a playful way, or yeah, so you got way and method, which mean the same thing. So you could say playful way or playful method for learning. I might say instead of for learning, you might also say to learn. I think this. Do I like that better? If teachers found a playful method to learn, I think actually maybe teach would be better. It's okay to have teachers and teach. It would be a walk in the park for the students to pass the exam with flying colours. Oh, that is a good way. That is a good example of how to use two idioms in the same sentence and it sounds okay. Yeah. Well done, Naz. Very good. Okay, so let's have a little talk about the speaking. Okay, so as we know, in part one, we might have a 50-50 chance of getting a question that says, do you work or study? Okay, and if you haven't seen a video about that, you can have a look, and I think we've done a video, work or study. Yeah, so we did a video, and one of the things that we did in this video was we tried to think of lots of different scenarios where you might have to explain your studies. Like, for example, if you chose all of your subjects compared to if you had a set syllabus where you didn't choose your subject. And it's just me giving a few examples of how to answer those in different ways. So it's one of our earlier videos. The content's good. I don't know how good the video and editing is, but the content is good for that one. Okay. We had Jalen said, when I was young, I burned the midnight oil to prepare the exams. Yeah, so Jalen, just for that one, just think about, let's have a look at it. Just do this last one before we move on. Just think about this one, okay? When did it happen? When I was young, okay? So we're in past tense now, okay? So we're in past tense, which means everything else needs to also refer to the past tense if it was an action, okay? So I burnt or burned. Burn, we tend to use this form of the verb in UK English, British English, and burned is the American spelling. It's burned. I burnt the midnight oil to prepare for the exam. Yeah. So this part also needs to be past tense as well. Just remember, just because you said this was in the past, you got to remember the past tense for everything else. Okay. So let's imagine that we're in the exam and they've asked us the question, do you work or study? We've said that we're students, and we're going to be now answering questions about school and study and things like that. What kind of questions might come up in part one? What questions might the examiner ask? So, for example, we might make this a little bit bigger. What type of school did you go to? Ooh, go to. Can't write fast enough. What type of school did you go to? It could be a question. Good, this is a good one here. What did you enjoy most about? What did you enjoy most when you were at school? Yeah, excellent question. Yeah. So, Naz, what do we call if in English? So we had those expressions. We said. So these ones, to play hooky, to cut, skip, class. So those ones, and they all mean to play truant. So truant, to be truant is the phrase really, when you're absent from school without permission. Yeah. Another expression I can add is to be AWOL. So this is an army expression, really. So absent without leave. Absent without leave. So it is a military term, but we use it in everyday English to mean someone's disappeared. You can't find them. You know, they've gone AWOL. They're not around. Yeah. So truant is the official word for it, but you can say AWOL as well. So Jalen, yeah. So burned or burnt, either one is fine here. So yeah. So we've got what type of school did you go to? What did you enjoy most when you were at school? Let's try and think of another 3 questions about school. So what was your favorite place at your school? Let's say that as a question. There's my question mark. Any other suggestions of questions generally about school? Remember that part 1 questions, they're always about you. They're personal questions in a way. They're questions like an interview. Questions you should know the answer to, fairly familiar questions. That's what we're looking for in part 1. So let's say what subjects did you dislike? Can anyone think of one more question? Because I'm going to ask a few of you to come up with an answer. Yeah, so we could have what's your favorite place, and we could have what was your favorite subject or subjects. Yeah, your favorite place. We got, could also have what was, rather than what, who was your favorite teacher? Excellent. Yeah, so we've got a few questions there. Now if you would like to come up with your answer, tell me which question you're answering. Now I'm going to give these a number if I can. There we go. So it'll be nice and easy. You can tell me the number of the question that you're answering. We've got 6 there to choose from. So if you would like to write out your answer, what might you say for these? And okay, so we've got, let's add that extra question. See if I can see. Still having to look behind my microphone to see if I can see what I've got on the screen. Funny. Okay. So Asma said, describe a moment when everyone was proud of you in your school. Yeah, so I think that would be a good part 2 kind of question. That would be something you might hear of in part 2. Yep, definitely. So what could we say? What type of school did you go to? Let's see if I can come up with something here. So what would I say? Well, to be honest with you, I went to a fairly ordinary school. It's called comprehensive school, and you don't need to pay any tuition. Tuition, yeah. Would I say that? Tuition fee, yeah, I suppose. Fees, or take an entrance exam to get in. Yeah, okay, so I could say that. So, well, to be honest with you, I went to a fairly ordinary school. It's called a comprehensive school, and you don't need to pay any tuition fees to take an entrance exam to get in. So all in all, it was an okay place to attend. I might just finish it that way. A little summary perhaps at the end there. Yeah. So now, as you're saying, for number 3, what was your favourite place at school? You've already typed out as your canteen. Did I miss that comment? I might have done. It's possible. Yeah, okay, so that's what I might say. What did you enjoy most when you were at school? Let's see if I could think of something interesting to say here. What did I enjoy most about school? It's been so long since I was there. Yeah, okay. So I might say this. The thing I liked most about my school days was fooling around with my friends in the back of the classroom. I was something of a class clown, and certainly not the teacher's pet. Okay, so I've managed to include some of the phrases from our list of idioms there. Yeah, so we had a class clown, to be the class clown, and not to be a teacher's pet. Okay, so if any of you want to have a go at any of those questions, feel free to write in anything you've got, and perhaps you could try and include any of the vocabulary that we've come up with together. Okay, so good. I can see Asma's come up with one. Let's see what we've got. So this one is for question 2 as well. I can guarantee it's going to be better than my one. So I love the gathering in the assembly for morning prayers. It was a time when all the primary students would cherish and sing in chorus the school and national anthem. Okay, yeah. So I might say, let me make this a little bit bigger. I love the gathering in the assembly from. Now you would either say I loved the gathering for morning prayers, or you would say I loved to gather. So we might let's maybe do this in 2 ways. So I love the gathering for morning prayers, or you might say I loved to gather at the assembly for morning prayers. I might say that it was the time when all the primary students you might say primary school students, or you might just say students, because primary students means kind of the first students. So primary school students, perhaps we would say there, or we would just say the students. So would cherish and sing in chorus the school and national anthem. So I think what I would say here is you've got the right words. I might just move them around. Would cherish and sing the school and national anthem in chorus. So in this case, in chorus means together. Not to be confused with a choir, which is a group of people, but in chorus as in all together. So I would just change that part. Just change the words around. But yeah, that's really nice. I like the word assembly, which is, as you said, a gathering of the students and the teachers for important news, for information, or for prayers, if that's what you did. And the national anthem, yes, the song of your nation. We don't do that in the UK. I haven't sung God Save the Queen in a while. I'm not sure if I know all the words, to be honest with you. So we've got Okay, so Naz, it's the 27th comment from down to up. I will go searching for the 27th comment. Give me a moment, I'll have a look for that. Okay, so we've got this one from Dragon Ball. I'm not sure which question it's for. Well, in all honesty, ever since I graduated from secondary school. Okay, so it's question 7. Yeah, I never had a chance to visit again. It has been reconstructed recently and there is no more old teachers to see. Okay, so I think what I would just change is I have never had. I might just change that. I have never had a chance to visit again. Just because we're talking about your experience, your life experience there. Yeah, cool. I have never had a chance to visit again. It's been reconstructed recently, and there is no more teachers to see. So because we've got teachers, we probably want to say there are no, because it's plural. But to be honest with you, you're going to hear so many natives say there's no more teachers. It's kind of this native level mistake. When you're living abroad, you can say it. But for the exam, try to just use the correct grammar. Make sure your verbs agree with your nouns there. Okay, so I'm going to go hunting. So Naz says she had canteen. Oh, I think I see it. So this would be your favourite place in the school. Let me just make sure. No, I don't think. So Naz says the canteen was my favourite place because it not only has delicious snacks and drinks, but also the ambience is cosy and comfortable. This is the only place where I can let my hair down and rewind myself. I think this myself. Okay. So again, we mentioned this before. We've said was. Okay. What was your favourite place? The canteen was my favourite place. Good. Because it not only has delicious snacks and drinks, but also the ambience is cozy and comfortable. This is the only place where I can let my hair down and rewind myself. Okay, so let's imagine that the school with a canteen, it still exists. So technically, everything that Naz has said here is correct. It has delicious snacks. It had it in the past. It has it now. It will have it in the future. It's a fact. It is cozy and comfortable. It's a fact. It is the only place where she can let her hair down. It's all grammatically correct. But because you said it was my favourite place, you kind of want to change all of these to past tense. It had, it was, this was the only place where I could. So just remember, if you talk about something in the past, you've got to mention everything else in the past, because in that context you're talking about a past event. You're not a student now. However, if you said the canteen is my favourite place because I am a student now, what you had before would be fine. So just remember, everything's got to agree with each other. If this is a memory, it happened in the past. If it's a fact, if it's true now, it's present simple. And just here, where I could let my hair down and rewind, we don't need to say self. Just let my hair down and rewind would be fine. Yeah. Okay. What else have we got in the comments? So Asma says, okay, so this is what was your favourite subject. Oh, what happened there? What did I do? There we go. Okay. Right. So, what subjects did you dislike, or what was your favourite subject? Okay, so it's the subject you disliked. So I am till date not a history buff. Back those days in schools too, history and civics was the subject which I used to run away from. I scored less, as remembering historic chronicle were difficult for me. So we're missing me. Okay, so I like a history buff. This is a great phrase, really, really good. So someone who loves history. I am a history buff. It's actually the degree that I studied. I don't know why I did that, but I liked history. So I would just change this. I am to date not a history buff. I am to date is the expression. Yeah, I am to date. So meaning I am up till today not a history buff. So here we want to have a linking word, and back in those days in school, I might say I was 2. I might just say that. So I am to date, and back in those days in school I was 2. You could say that, or you could say and so in those days 2. So either one. Here probably I might say so as a result, some phrase like this, a linking word. Try and use more linking words. So history and civics. History and civics, is that a phrase? I would say history. I'm not sure. History and civics doesn't sound familiar to me. Now, is this an American expression? I don't know. It could be. History and civics. It's not something that jumps out at me. Okay. Okay. Ah, yes, I see. Is it possible that, Asma, you're from India? Okay, so this is an Indian, maybe a class that you have in India. Okay. Fair enough. I think probably if you're taking the exam in India, that probably would be okay. I think they would understand that. We probably would just say history in the UK and US. But I think you'd get away with that in India. I think that'd be fine. So history and civics was the subject which I used to run away from. And again, I think we would have a linking word. We might even say which meant. So we could use a relative clause here, which meant I scored less, as remembering historic chronicles. You might see chronicles. I would probably say, instead of historic chronicles, which would be, chronicle would be a document, I would say historical facts or events. I would probably say this with a T. Historical events. I'd probably say that. Were difficult for me, yeah. So, Asma, you've got all of the great stuff there. Just try and remember, add in your linking words. Even words like and are good linking words if used in the right place. So these cohesive devices are really important even in your speaking. Good, excellent. Some really good answers, guys. Okay, so let's have a look at task 1. Okay, so what I've got for you, you may want to have a look at this in if you come to the video today, come down and just click on the link, you'll come to the same document as I'm looking at. So I just came up with an example of a task 1 within the topic of schools. So the graphs below show the percentage of UK students studying 5 subjects in 3 different years. Write a list at least 150 words. So we've got 1990, we've got 2000, 2010, and you've got males and females. You've got 0 to 100% on the vertical axis, and you've got maths, science, social studies, IT, information technology, and French, and that's the same for all years. So you can see the information, and if you would like to write this, if you want to get a bit of feedback, you can see at the top of the screen, you can send an email to corrections@theieltsgrind.com, and we will try and have a look at it for you. We can either do it as a live stream, not a live stream, or if we haven't got a writing live stream coming up, we'll probably just look at it and send it back to you. So if you would like to have a go at writing this, feel free. But what I would like you to do is to think about introductions. Okay, so what do we need to do for a structure of the essay, or the task structure for this type of essay? Okay, so there are the things that we need to include are basically, the first thing is an introductory sentence. You need an overview, then you need a body paragraph 1, and I'm just going to put that down there so I have a bit of space, and body paragraph 2. Okay, this is your basic structure for an essay for task 1. Okay, let me put this down here. So what I would like us to do is perhaps have a look at how we would introduce the information just with our introductory sentence, and if you're feeling eager, you could write an overview. So first of all, what does the information tell us? What are the trends? So from 1990 to 2000 to 2010, what are the trends that we can see? So we're describing a change over time, so we do want to use language for trends. But we can see that maths generally is always a very perhaps not popular subject, but a subject that many students study. We don't know if it's mandatory, we don't know if it's chosen, it doesn't tell us that, but it's certainly studied more. And we could say science is also studied by quite a few students from each gender. But if I'm picking out a particular trend, which subject changes the most? If you can see, it might be, I don't know if I can zoom in perhaps a little bit. It might be a little bit different. If you can see that, if you can't see it clearly on the screen, feel free to look in the document itself. But which of the subjects changes the most is the question I'm asking. And while you think about that, I'm going to have a little drink of my green tea. Because if I'm going to write an overview, I'm going to look for the major trends. So maths and science, for the most part, are studied quite a lot by both genders. Maybe a slight difference between males and females. So males being in blue, females in red. So in task 1 for academic, you get something like this. You get some data. If you're doing general training, you do write a letter. For general training, there are 3 different types of letters. You might have to write a formal letter to someone that you don't know. So for example, if you're applying for a job, or you're writing to a politician, or semi-formal if it's someone like a professor, someone you've met but they're in a position of authority, or an informal letter. To be honest, on this channel, Michael and I, we tend to refer to task 1 in academic IELTS, just because the students that we teach in the school that we work at, we predominantly have people doing academic. We probably do need to do a little bit more general training on this channel, and that will be coming up. Don't worry, we're working on a course at the moment where we cover all of this anyway. But yeah, if you're for the academic task 1, you would have something like this. So I would say that IT is the subject that seems to change the most. It's not many students seem to study it in 1990. In 2000, it's coming up to about 50% of all students, and then it's about 60% over in the final year. So how would we write an introductory sentence and overview? So we know the information is the graph below shows the percentage of UK students studying 5 subjects in 3 different years. So how could I change that? So I might write something like this. So I'm quite simply going to start with the graph show. We don't need to get more complex than that. You can repeat exactly the same thing there. Doesn't make any difference. What comes next, you can try and change a little bit, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the introductional overview. I would spend most of my time, if I was going to write the full thing, on the body. So the graphs show, what do they show? The proportion of pupils, let's say, attending classes in different areas of study between 1990 and 2010. Okay, so something like this. The proportion of pupils attending classes in different areas of study between 1990 and 2010. If we compare that, the graphs below show the percentage of UK students studying 5 subjects in 3 different years. So it's near enough. Perhaps I didn't mention the UK. I could always add that. It doesn't really matter. The proportion of, let's say, British pupils. That would be okay. So we've got that. Now, if anyone would like to have a go at writing an introductory sentence, feel free, put it into the chat. We're going to go probably for another couple of minutes at least. What would I write for my overview? So I might write something like this. Overall, so I always want to start my overview with overall. Makes it nice and clear to the examiner that this is the overview, which is the big trend here. So overall, let's say traditional subjects such as mathematics and the sciences were attended most, the period with computer skills receiving more focus by 2010. Yeah, so something like this. So I'm just introducing some of the ideas. So I've got some of the topics, and the major trend that I've selected is computer skills, IT, becoming more more popular, for want of a better word. Perhaps the one thing I haven't included is male and females. It doesn't really matter. I can always refer to this later on if I wanted, but I've got my major trends out. So feel free to have a look at that. But I can see that Naz has been busy, so I'm going to see what she's written in the chat. Okay, so science teacher was my favourite teacher, unlike others who taught us just with the mentality of completing the curriculum and scraped or sailed through the exam. Okay, so let's have a look at what you've written there. So I think this is Naz's reply to who was your favourite teacher. Okay, good. So let's just have a look at this then. So science teacher was my favourite teacher. So we want to at least have some sort of article, pronoun, something like this. So we might say my science teacher was my favourite teacher, or the science teacher, a science teacher, my year 7 science teacher. So we want something before science teacher. Was my favourite teacher, or my favourite. You could say either one. Unlike others who taught us just with the mentality of completing the curriculum. Now I might change this so that we could scrape or sail through the exam. Yeah. So I would add this. You're explaining result. Yeah. So that we could do this thing. He used to give us in-depth knowledge and make sure we understood the concept deeply. Yeah, good answer. Just be aware of just that, those two little things. So we want to add an article, a science teacher, the science teacher, my science teacher, in a particular year, or we could add a name. Mr. Smith was my favourite teacher, who taught us science, and then just adding results. Yeah, good. Right. So, how are we feeling on? Does anyone want to have a go at writing an introduction or an overview to this task 1? I know that some of you may not be studying the academic. I'll give you a couple minutes and see if we've got any takers. Or if you would like to have a look at any of the other questions, or if you want to suggest perhaps a part 3 question from the speaking, and I'll be happy to talk you through some answers to that. Give everyone a few minutes to think about Okay, so just while we're at this point, just if at any point you found this a useful video, don't forget give us a like. It does kind of help us spread the message, help us with getting these videos to other students around the world. That's what we're here for. And yeah, feel free if you want me to have a look at any of your other answers, anything you'd want to have corrected. We've still got a few minutes, we can keep going. And just for anyone that's joining us for the first time, so if you come to our website, the IELTSGrind.com, you'll find this tab, live stream schedule, and if you click on it, and if your internet's fast, you can find when we're going live. So we tend to go live at the moment. We go live 3 days a week. So we're just coming to the end of September, and we're update this October schedule. But you'll find us again on Friday. I'll be back doing some speaking, and we normally do mock speaking exams on Friday. So if you want to get on a call with me and go through that, and we'll also be back on Saturday, and we try to do group speaking, a little less formal, less following the exam structure, more feedback. So we'll be back then. So yeah, we've got I think Naz has come up with a great question. So good. What are the benefits of a boarding school? Interesting one. So what I'm going to do is perhaps I'm going to look at how I would answer this if I didn't think there were any benefits, and I'll invite Naz or anyone else to have a go and talk about the benefits. So what are the benefits of a boarding school? So I would say, frankly, I don't think there are many benefits to this type of institution. This is because many students are sent to schools such as this at a fairly young, fairly young age, and this can have ramifications. Let's say chief among these is feeling homesick. So I've said so a few times. Yeah, I can say that. So I don't think there are many things in favour of this type of school. Okay, so if I didn't want to talk about benefits, and it's fine, as long as you acknowledge the topic of the question, you can pretty much say anything you want. So I might say this: frankly, I don't think there are many benefits to this type of institution. This is because many students are sent to schools such as this at a fairly young age, and this can have ramifications. Chief among these is feeling homesick. So I don't think there are many things in favour of this type of school. Ramifications. These are because effects. So sort of knock-on effects, you might say, results. So ramification, repercussion also. Oh. So yeah, repercussions. Repercussions are more results of a choice or something, but a ramification is a similar type of word. the other thing I've done is I've used lots of this. I've referred back to what's being said. But Naz, how about you have a go? How would you answer it if you thought there were benefits? What might you say? Conceptual knowledge. Yeah, a concept. Knowledge of concept. Yeah, that seems okay. Authentic. If you mean authentic, do you mean that a native might say that? I think that we would. Yeah. So give you a bit of time. What are the benefits of a boarding school? Okay. Got a nice one here. So I think I'm missing social maturity. Okay. So this is from Asma, and hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. I might be mispronouncing it. If I am, I apologise. But us English speakers, we're not very good with names that aren't anglicised. So I apologise for that. So I passed out from a boarding school and it proved to be beneficial for me. Although I was timid and spoon-fed child, after graduating from this school, I gained as attributes such as discipline and social maturity. Yeah, okay, I think you've got, yeah, it's a good answer. There's a few things I might change. Now, you've got graduating, which I like, and you've got passed out. So, just for me, when I saw passed out, originally I thought about the meaning where to pass out as in to faint, as in to fall over because of too much heat, or because you're drunk, you're intoxicated. But you can pass out of a military school. So I'm not sure if I would say passed out from a boarding school. But you've said graduating here, because I thought graduated. But if you didn't want to say graduating and graduating, you might just say I went to. I went to. So passed out from. You might just say I went to a boarding school and it proved to be beneficial for me. That's a really nice phrase. It proved to be beneficial to me. I like that one a lot. Although I was a timid and spoon-fed child, yeah, after graduation from the school, I gained, I might say, several attributes. And you might even say personal attributes, such as self-discipline and social maturity. Yes, very good answer. I like that one a lot, yeah. And let's have a look at what Naz said. Oh, what's happened there? Right, let me just clean this up. Naz said this. So many of these schools offer a wide range of extracurricular activities such as golf, photography or fashion, as well as the core academic subjects. Another benefit is that children become independent at a very young age. Yes, very good answer. I like that a lot, yeah. Good. I mean, an extracurricular activity, fashion. You might just change that to fashion, fashion design perhaps, or you might say sewing classes, or just maybe like an activity, because fashion is a concept, it's a topic. Fashion design is more of a class or activity. Sewing, that's the only thing I might say. Yeah. I know very little about boarding schools too, Naz. I've learnt it only from Harry Potter. That's my so there's lots of extracurricular activities such as Quidditch, running away from monsters and fighting Voldemort. You could say that. Okay, great. So it looks like we're coming to about out of time for this video. So I hope that you guys have found this a little bit useful. Remember that you can actively learn vocabulary. Okay, you can come up with your own mind maps here, and what we would be doing is adding our vocabulary to these things in a dedicated notebook, and then you're writing example sentences, you're writing definitions, and you keep this as a record and you build on it. And the number one rule about any vocabulary notebook is never write your own language. Okay, if you write a definition in your own language, you're less likely to remember the word. If you use the word in context, if you write a definition, your own definition in English, it's more likely to stick in your brain. And an example of this is my second language is French, and there are expressions in French that I know how to use in the right context, but I could not translate them into English. I could not tell you exactly how to say it in English, but I just know it in the language because I learned it in context. It's something to do with your brain. If you translate, it doesn't work as well. Now, we've done a pretty intensive video, I would say, full of ideas about it's about how to keep a English vocabulary notebook. So it's me and Mike back in the old days where we in our old studio, but it's got a lot of ideas. This is what Michael and I teach our students that we have in our regular classes here in Taipei. I'll put that into the chat, and it works. It really does work to help you improve your vocabulary. This is something you've got to actively be doing every single day. Carry it around with you. When you learn a new word, put it into your notebook. You can always come back to these mind maps and you can add to them. And like we did today, if you work with friends and they have a word that you don't know, a word that you haven't thought of, steal the word from them, put it into your book. If you want to be a good IELTS student and learn English, theft is the best way. Vocabulary theft, it's the only crime that pays. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. Make sure you catch us in our next video, and we'll see you very soon. Well done, guys. You're really great. See you later.